All right, welcome to the Apic Comedy Hour. We are missing somebody today. We are missing
That second
our
episode, and we're already off the rails.
yeah,
This is
this
not
is
not looking good
this
for
has gone to shit so
us.
fast. So fast.
You
Yeah,
think I'd be the one to bail, but it was
I
Jacob.
100% was expecting John to be the first one out, and
Yeah,
apparently Jay must have listened to the last episode and was like, I'm done.
like this is
I'm done. This
start.
is going nowhere. This is not helping my career as a singer. Um, so yeah, Jacob's MIA. I don't know what happened. I hope he's okay. But we are
Maybe he'll
trudging.
pop in here in the middle here.
He
We'll
could. He
see.
could very well pop in. We'll
We'll
see.
see.
But we're trudging ahead without him. We are canceling our original theme today, which was Disney video games, which I was very excited to talk about.
Super excited.
I was super
Cool.
excited to talk about, but hopefully we can do that next episode if we can get Jay to show up.
Yes.
We'll kind of see where this one goes. I'm not too
We're just gonna
sure.
kind of be loosey goosey. I guess it always is, but
Yeah, but this one's gonna be extra loose, extra loose. Um, yeah. I was gonna make a poop joke there, but we're gonna move on. Keep it classy. John, let's start it off with what are you into this week?
So this week, this is kind of weird. I've been I'm really into retro television, shall we say?
Okay.
Because I have a subscription to Hulu and they have a lot of like back catalog of old stuff.
Retro
And
meaning
been
like
watch-
80s, 80s,
sure,
90s.
yeah. Let's go 80s, 90s.
Okay.
So I've been watching like Perfect Strangers.
Okay.
Has been one I've been
Nice.
watching. But the other one that I've been like really into, and it's really interesting to revisit, is Saved by the Bell.
Okay.
I don't know if you watched that when you were younger.
I wasn't like a fanatic, I would say, but I've definitely caught episodes. Like I know most of
Casual
the characters.
viewer.
Yeah, I was a very casual viewer.
Mhm.
Funny enough, like the things I watched, I as a kid were either very kids stuff, like it was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Saturday morning cartoon type of thing, or I'd watch very
Mhm.
like kind of adult stuff, like it would be like Married with Children. Like
Oh, dude, I love Married with Children.
Married with Children is so good, but like that's what I grew up on is
Hella,
like
dude. I'm
that.
a big Ed O'Neill fan.
Oh, Ed O'Neill's fantastic, but like
Who's now obviously done very well with Modern Family.
oh yeah, he's definitely made his comeback, which like I'm sad that he never had his moment in the sun in movies.
Yeah,
Like he had a
you-
couple like near misses with
yeah,
like
Dutch.
Dutch,
Remember Dutch?
Little
'Cause that was like,
Giants.
that's like a yeah, Little Giants.
Little Giants
Dutch
was
has kind of special place in my heart because Dutch is like it's a John Hughes movie,
hmm
and I guess the story goes with that is that John Hughes is like really was the nicest person in the world until like the movie fails that you're in with him or that he's doing. I guess Dutch didn't do very well, and it's not like that great in comparison to some of the other John Hughes greats, but I guess like Ed O'Neill was really bummed because he tried his hardest to do this movie and it failed, and then John Hughes like wouldn't talk to him anymore or something.
Oh, that's kind of
Something
shit.
like that.
I heard
Isn't that a
John
bummer?
Hughes. I've heard John Hughes is kind of a weird guy. Like Molly
Yeah,
Ringwald
yeah.
recently came out and said like he was
Did he
kind of
sexually
a
assault people.
no, it wasn't that far. But basically,
Okay.
she was like, if you go back and like watch the movies he made around, like based around teenagers, like they're very inappropriate, like by today's standards. Like John Hughes had, the character of Bender, sexually assaulting Molly Ringwald's character in Breakfast Club, like shoving his face in her crotch. And she said she was like going back. She was talking. I was reading the article, and she was basically saying like looking back on it now, like that was a very uncomfortable thing. Like it wasn't.
Right.
I mean, by today's standards, that would never fly. Like nobody would
Right.
allow that.
Right.
But unless I
Well, you got all
which
these like stereotypical characters too. Like was it 16 Candles? There's like the very like stereotypical Asian person or something. Was that 16 Candles?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's like that's just kind of the product of the time too.
Oh, yeah,
You
I
know,
think
I
so.
guess, but-
Yeah, I think it was just a different generation. And the funny thing is like you don't know whether things were that segregated at the time in terms of like cliques and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because we just didn't grow up then. Like I grew up in the 90s where things were a little bit more like evened out, and cliques weren't as big of a thing. You could kind of like there was things were still clicky when we were in high school, but it wasn't so bad to where you like couldn't talk to a jock or couldn't talk to a
Yeah.
like we just don't deal with the jocks, man. We just don't deal with them, like it wasn't that bad. Or it was just like, hey, we don't hang out, but like if I have a reason to talk to you, I'm not scared to. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be like, oh, I can't do it, man. So yeah, I think it was just a different time, and like things, people just got away with different shit. And like I feel like also that was kind of a product of the time too. Like I think that scene in particular that she was talking about is a really good representation of the difference of the time, because yes, that is not like that would not be acceptable cinematically these days, or like to have kids doing that on set. But at the same time, like that's the type of shit that like happened back then. Like guys were much more like aggressive sexually because there was no concept of
you're kind of taught that too, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're taught that as well. Like
yeah,
you go out and you take what you want. It's like
yeah. Well, I mean, like, and even like the character of Andrew, played by Emilio Estevez, like he was, like his like monologue talking about like how his dad teaches him to be a winner and like all that bullshit, was really like a good symbolization, like a good symbol, and like summary of the times, and like how fathers treated their sons, and like they taught him these values of being like a man, but like it was growing up in a time where like women's liberation was coming around. It was just a very confusing, like clashing time of values. And I think it's a really interesting, and still to this day, I think it's a beautiful story of how people they start out as the sum of their environment, right? The stereotypes of their environment, what they've been raised to be, the clique they've been in, and they kind of figure out that by the end, people are people. And apparently this has turned into the Breakfast Club episode.
Well, no, what's funny is I was waiting for your monologuing to end so I could get this in here, but
sorry.
But no, just kidding. But what you were talking about with like the accepted sexual assault and stuff, that's like the like when watching Saved by the Bell, every episode like Zach has a plan where there's like sexual assault involved.
And he's like, and then I'm gonna get the chicks. It's like,
he's serious in one episode, and this is covered by there's a College Humor thing called Zach Morris's Trash. It's very serious. It's not funny at all, because it's literally pointing out and he pretty much goes through every episode and pointing out how Zach is like a complete piece of shit.
He's just like a date rapist.
There's like one episode where he takes over like the school store. I mean, he wants to make it hip, take it over because the nerds are just selling pocket protectors.
Yeah.
But anyway, to like make money for it, he has Screech take photographs of the girls. These are 16-year-old girls. Well, I mean, the actors are probably older.
Yeah, they're like in their 20s.
On the show, they're supposed to be like 16 years old, and take like hidden pictures of them in their swimsuits at swim practice, make a calendar out of that, and sell it to all the dudes at the school. Like,
it's just completely inappropriate.
Completely like what? But it's like Zach.
Oh, Zach.
My office now.
Boys will be boys. Like
that's what it is. It's this mentality, like this boys will be boys thing. It's like, wow. But what's worse about it is Saved by the Bell is like labeled with that EI thing, like educational informative.
It's still listed. Yeah. So it's like you can learn from this show.
Badge. Yeah, it has a badge on it, like it's an episode of Doc McStuffins or something. I don't, but it's hilarious. That's like funny. Every episode, it's just like, oh my god.
Every episode is Zach's scheme to screw over women
to make money. I'm gonna charge people to try to kiss you while you're not paying attention. And what?
It's like, what? It's terrible.
What the hell? It's terrible. But anyway, so there's that. There's two things that are just like, what? One is that where it's just like, oh my god, like this is
This is
horrible.
terrible.
And the second thing is I'm very chronologically confused. It
Okay.
does though. I don't know who made. I don't know if like obviously someone made the episode order different than like kind of what was filmed.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing you have, because like at one point Tiffany Amber Thiessen and Elizabeth Berkley quit because they I think contract dispute. I don't exactly remember.
Mm-hmm.
I think But anyway, they got this replacement girl, and her character's name was Tori. So during the last season of original Saved by the Bell, they peppered in, because they already filmed. They basically filmed like the beginning episodes and the ending episodes with Kelly and Jesse.
Right.
So but in the middle, they had to pepper in these episodes they made with this girl Tori, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, I feel like they could have done a better job of like, Kelly and Jesse aren't there right now, and Tori is, but they just completely know they exist. And like Zach is like dating Tori, but one episode, but then he's not, and then in another episode, like Zach and like Lisa have a thing, but we never revisit it, even though there's a whole thing with Screech. Like, she was mine, our friendship. It's like, take care of her, and then we never about it again. We never hear about the Zach and Lisa romance ever again, and it's super annoying.
That's great.
But and then in the like season 3 or season 4, there's they have like a summer kind of season where it's like they all get jobs at this Malibu resort. But instead of just having those episodes go in order, it's peppered in with episodes like where it's supposed to be the next school year. So it like doesn't make sense either.
Okay.
And they're always like and Zach or Slater are always meeting girls who are like, oh, we're gonna be boyfriend and girlfriend, but we never see them again. For example, in this Malibu Sands arc where they're all working on this resort, Slater meets this Slater has this secret admirer and he can't figure out who he is. It turns out to be Denise Richards, oddly enough.
Nice.
And
nice
she's
little
like, I didn't know
cameo.
to talk to you. Yeah, exactly. And it could be easily be like whatever, like we don't live in the same place, we're not going to be together. But then the end of the episode, it's like, oh, it turns out she's going to go to Bayside. Yeah, but we never
see her
again.
we never
see her again. And that's what happens with all these women. Slater has a sister that Zach dates, never see her again.
Never seen again.
But
The
it's always
continuity
like-
is
it's
just
always-
terrible.
The continuity is terrible. It's like, how hard is it? I get it. 2 people left and you had to get another person in there, but like you could have it was so, I don't know. You didn't have to have it as loose and kind of could have tightened up the continuity a little bit.
I feel like
so
it
it's
was
really,
I feel like that show was made in the time where like continuity wasn't
matter, I
yeah
guess.
continuity
It didn't
didn't
matter,
really matter. Like you go back to and watch like
Exactly.
old episodes of The Simpsons too, like continuity doesn't really make sense
Right.
and stuff like
Well, it's almost a joke too. It's like a
well,
like a
yeah,
cartoon
yes,
show and
yes, but like I feel like they get tighter about it in later years. And there's a lot of shows like that where like continuity doesn't really make sense because at the time like they're just making one-off episodes and there was very few shows that were actually doing like continuity unless you were like an hour drama.
Well, and you could still make one-off episodes, and a lot of shows will do that today. But at least I don't know, you don't have to like forget everything. Some episodes
totally.
Made where you could kind of watch one episode. Oh, I understand what's going on. There's not all this backstory I need to know and stuff.
Yeah, that's how like I just started watching the Magicians, based on like Jay's recommendation. It's interesting. It's not the best show in the world, but it's okay. But one of the things that struck me as weird about it is for the first like I'm only like 6 episodes in, but for the first 6 episodes, it's very like Monster of the Week thing, even though it's not like necessarily a Monster of the Week, but each episode feels like it's very detached from the previous episode. Like there'll be a few things that carry over, but not a lot. Yeah. So I'm watching that, and then I'm like late to the bus. I just got into Westworld, which is my new thing.
Oh, I haven't watched it. I know everyone's
It's key. It's interesting. It takes a couple episodes to get in because the first episode, after you get to like the 3rd or 4th episode, you realize the first episode is really pointless. The only thing the first episode does is just establish characters. That's it. Like none of it really matters, for the most part. which is kind of funny. But yeah, so there's that. But the thing that I really wanted to talk about, which is my big like thing that I'm into this week, Movie Pass. Are you familiar?
I am familiar.
So
I think it's going to go out of business, though. It's
probably, but in the meantime, I'm milking it for all it's worth.
How much do you pay a month? Do you get two tickets?
Yes. So I have two. So you can't actually have two tickets on your thing. You have to have two separate subscriptions. So I have one for myself. I have one for Anna.
Yeah.
But I bought them just before they changed their plan because like they just announced that they changed it because they can't sustain the like one movie a day model anymore. So now it's 4 movies a month. It's 1 movie a week basically, which is still more than like
how much you pay per subscription?
$10 a month,
Okay,
$9.95 whatever.
Yeah.
So
that's not bad.
It's still worth it. It's still very much worth it. Even if you see 2 movies a month, you're still like getting the deal. So we got in just early enough, but so like Anna still hasn't used it yet, but I have because I found that like on days when I work later, I can drop being off at school and then go catch a movie by myself. So I've been doing that. So I've actually I went and saw Black Panther. I went and saw Ready Player One.
I've read the book actually, but I haven't.
Yeah, I read the book too. It's fantastic. It's very, very well. So the main plot.
I know they have to change it, because they have to change it. Artemis and the main character they have to meet earlier.
Wade, they meet pretty early on. Basically, they changed around them like a lot of the main plot points in terms of like what they have to do to get the keys and shit like that.
Yeah, I imagine
to make them more cinematic.
Packed.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure
like
the games are different too. Probably more action packed things when the tasks for the keys and stuff.
Yeah, no, they're all very different. So like in the first one is like
spoiler alert by the way.
Spoiler alert. The first one's like a race. They kind of go through the different genres of the game. So like the first one's a race, the second one is like a mystery like puzzle thing, and then the third one is kind of like an action type thing. But it's really good. It like as different as it is from the book, I feel like they captured the essence of it.
The
really
Ernest
well.
Cline, who wrote the book, I believe, wrote the screenplay or like co-wrote the screenplay.
Yeah, that's
so
what
he was involved.
and it shows. It's a fantastic movie. And then I saw Infinity War, which
of course don't talk.
I won't talk any spoilers because that's still pretty new. So I won't talk about it.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say is it's very, very good. Definitely worth seeing. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Right?
Well, that's the thing is, it could have been total dog shit. Like people would have gone and seen it anyway. Like
Marvel could fail.
I mean, they definitely can. But like they didn't have to make it as good as it was. That people would have seen it anyway. You know, like
it would have broke all box office records ever in the history of the world.
Yeah, I mean that was gonna happen. That was gonna happen no matter what. Because this is what like 18 movies in the making, give or take.
I don't know,
something like that. But so the funny thing about the whole thing is I've seen all these movies, but I haven't told Anna. And so it's like
so it basically is this weird secret.
Is this weird secret that I have?
If you would have told her from the very beginning, probably would have been a big
deal. It wouldn't have been a big
deal.
Because
it's been a secret.
But it's been something that
she finds out like 2 months later, and it's like, what what else are you hiding from me or something?
Basically,
right?
But I enjoy having a secret. I haven't had a secret in my life in like years.
It's a fairly harmless secret.
Yeah, well, like I'm never gonna keep anything. I'm never gonna keep anything big from my wife, and like it wasn't like an intentional thing. Like I just did it the one day to go see Black Panther because I really wanted to see it, and then I forgot because I had worked that day, and then I worked. And then I came home and I just kind of like forgotten about it and didn't say anything. And then when I thought about it later, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I didn't tell her about it. And then it felt weird to tell her about it like the next day. Be like, oh, by the way, yesterday I went and saw the thing. And so it's just this thing that I just got to keep to myself. And I'm like, this is me. This is for me. This is
funny.
my time.
I feel like that's because I before it would be unheard of in my mind to like go to a movie by myself. That like feels weird to me. But
Yeah.
everyone's doing that now. Well, it's funny. I was having a very similar conversation with Mickey from the Three Friends Go Criterion.
Oh yeah, check out their
And,
podcast by the way if you haven't. It's
super
amazing.
awesome.
Really, really
I'm
good.
on a couple episodes,
Mhm.
but he has the movie pass as well. I'm like, how do you know? Because he has a daughter and stuff.
Mhm.
And he's like, yeah, no, he's like, no, I go to movies at like 10:30 at night and like go by myself. I'm like, oh, and he
That's
has movie pass
interesting.
too, but he got grandfathered in because he had it earlier, so I believe he still gets one movie a day for $10.
Yeah, that's yes, yeah.
Like I believe they grandfathered the original people in.
They
I
do,
think.
yeah. Because I
But,
still have it.
Yeah, so he get it's. But yeah, he's seen like everything. Like, because I always wonder, it's like, how do you get out to see these movies? Like, you and your wife go to movies all the time. Like, he's like, oh no, like my wife and my daughter go to sleep, and I go see a movie at like 10:30 at night. It's like, oh, interesting.
That is interesting. That's definitely a way to do it.
Yeah,
I think I might do the same thing if I didn't work that late.
exactly.
But it works for me. Like
Exactly,
I usually
that's the
will like
problem.
drop Bean off, and then I'll have like 2 hours to kill before I start work. So it's like, the fuck else am I
Yeah.
gonna do?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I started doing that just to bait. Like initially, it was like I want to make use of this movie pass thing because I'm paying
Totally.
for it. Like I might as well make use of it. And yeah, like I'm really enjoying it. It was weird the first time, like going in. It was like, one for Black Panther, yeah, one please. And they were like,
Yeah.
really?
Do you want a magazine or something? It's gonna be boring.
Yeah. Okay.
But
But I went and it was. I mean, once you're in there and you're watching it, it's fine. Like you're just doing your
Yeah.
thing and it's cool. And then yeah. The hard thing is though is afterwards not having anyone to. You have to like find someone to talk.
Yeah, you can't
You'd
talk
be like,
about it. That's
to like walking out the theater, be like, so what did everybody think? Was it good? Did you guys like it? What was your favorite part, sir? Sir?
Yeah, because that is funny because you have no one to talk. You always, even if it's like a small conversation, there's always that little bit of conversation. Like if I go to see a movie with my wife or something, it's like it's always, even if it's not that much, like, oh, I really like this thing, but I didn't like how blah blah blah. Or blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, exactly.
that conversation. So that does seem weird to like come out of the movie and you're like, okay, well, I can't. Hopefully, someone else saw it that I will talk to in the next couple days.
I mean, usually it's not that hard to find somebody who's seen it. Like, I have a lot of like single friends at work, and so they like actually get out and get to see stuff, because they don't have children, and so I usually get to talk to them about it, and that's cool. Or like Jacob has Movie Pass, so he goes and sees stuff every once in a while, and so I'll talk to him about it. And it's cool. But yeah, it is weird. Like, it's more the initial thing, because finding somebody after the fact isn't too hard, but it's that initial, like, you want to talk about it right after, and there's nobody there, and you're just
when when it's that fresh like that.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, so that's been interesting, but I'm enjoying it. I'm very, very much enjoying it. I missed going to the theater. I feel like it's kind of revived my, like, passion for going to the theater.
I barely go to the theater.
Yeah, well, I mean,
anymore.
it's
no
so
time.
expensive. It's so expensive, and this like makes it worth it, because if you go see 4 movies, which is one a week, which is very doable, like if you have the time, that's it. It's like $250 a ticket, which is like sweet.
No, for sure. Because for $10 a month, even if it's only once a week, that's pretty good. Because I mean, a ticket itself is like what $12 now, $14.
Yeah, depending on it's like 11 at full price, and then like depending on the theater, like there's some nice ones.
And I'm assuming you can't do like 3D or anything. No
IMAX.
Special.
No 3D, no IMAX. But you can do some specialty theaters will still do it, even if they're not like Studio Movie Grill, which is a theater up near Sacramento that Jay turned me on to, where you can like do dinner in a movie. They'll take it. They accept Movie Pass, which is cool. What do you
is this something that you have on your phone? You go up to the like, oh, I have Movie Pass. one for Black
It's
Panther
interesting.
movies.
So I won't show you the actual card, but so you sign up and they actually send like a debit card to your house. But the debit card is only good for at movie theaters. And so you have the app on your phone, you look at whatever's playing, you check in, and then after you check in, you can then like give them the card, they'll swipe it and it'll charge for that. It'll pay for that ticket. But you for the most part you have to use the card. There are a few theaters where you can just like check in via the app, but it's not all of them. The one that I go to, I have to use the card. But it's really not hard. Like you check in. I will check in like as I'm parking or like just as I park and I'm like walking up, and then you just go to the box office, hand them the card, and and they swipe it and you're good. Yeah, it's really really efficient. And yeah, it's cool. I dig it. I dig it a lot. And I'm hoping that I can get Anna like into it, because that's like the next step is like getting her like on board.
Right. Because you're paying for the for her subscription as well, right? She has a subscription.
Yeah. I'm either that or I'm gonna start taking Bean to movies. Like I really want to take him to see Incredibles 2 when that comes out. So I'm just gonna like use her card to like take him. Like I just start taking him on like, because like Mondays, I thought about it. I was like, Mondays I have off, and like he technically has to go to school, but I could take him like earlier in the day or something like that, and we could go see like an early showing of The Incredibles. And I think he could do it. I think he could handle it.
Yeah.
Because he'll sit through like 3 hours of Mickey, so I'm pretty sure he could watch The Incredibles for 2 hours, an hour and a half. We can get that done. But
for sure.
Is there anything new else going on in your life? I know you got the.
I mean, that's been pretty busy. I'm getting ready to go on a tour and stuff. I'm a touring musician. But that's mainly been it. Nothing super like. When I'm home, it's like doing homeowner stuff, which is weird. I never thought I'd spend my days weed whacking.
Oh yeah, you spend more time like pulling weeds and like dealing with like weeds,
weed whacking the backyard and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's weird. Like a couple of years ago, it's like I never thought I would be weed whacking, cleaning up an animal's poop.
Well, that's that's you got a dog, and that's your own fault. Like, that's the one thing. It's so funny. I feel like I feel about animals, like pets, the way most people feel about, like most single people feel about kids, where they'll like, I just don't like, I don't mind other people's kids, but I just don't really want one of my own right now. And that's like how I feel about dogs. Like I don't mind other people's dogs, but like I really am not super into the idea of having my own dog right now.
Right. And that's totally fine. Like dogs are like our work, and you have a kid who will eventually grow up into like an awesome person. Where the dog
he's already an awesome person, dude. Today he woke up, or we were like playing around or whatever, doing his thing, and it was like 11:30 or whatever, and he was like, he like grabbed his blanket off the couch and he's like, "Papa, room." And I went to the room, he like got into the bed and he's like, "Papa, lay down." And I was like, "Okay." And I like laid down and he just went to sleep. He just went to sleep, he like took a nap. I was like,
the cuddle.
What the hell? Well, it wasn't even about the cuddle. Like the cuddle thing is like he cuddles with us all the time. But the fact that he was like, "I'm gonna go nap, and like I want you to come and hang out with me while I nap and just get me set." Like he had it all in his head and he all mapped out. He was like ready to go. It was really fun. He's very like. He's very like cognizant of things, very aware. He's super he's way more intelligent than he lets you believe, which is really like he hides his intelligence a lot of the time, like what he knows and what he doesn't know. The other day I was trying to get him to take a photo because I just built his new toddler bed. And so I was trying to get him to take a photo. I was like, get in the bed. Let's take a photo for mommy. Blah, 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 blah. And he was like, no. He was like just ignoring me and like playing. He was like, what? What are you talking about? And I was just like, all right, if you get in the bed and let me take a photo, I'll give you some Fruit Loops. And he immediately like ran and jumped in the bed and like got under the covers and was like, and I was like, you fucking know. You know what I'm saying. Like, why do you pretend like you don't know what I'm saying, you piece of shit? Like, God damn it. It
Yeah,
is. It's
totally.
it's really funny. It's
That's
really,
funny.
really funny. Um, what else has been new?
I have just since we barely are talking about games on this episode, I'll throw a
Oh yeah,
game thing in.
yeah. Let's talk
So
about
I got this
something.
device. I got this cool device
Mm-hmm.
because since I'm really into retro gaming, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
don't have I'm on the road a lot and stuff. And I got this badass this portable. Look at this thing right here. It's like a portable.
Is that a
It's
Nintendo
a Pi.
DS? Oh, it is
No,
a Pi.
it's a Raspberry Pi Zero, and then this guy built these built like a 3D printed this the circuit board for the controller
Oh,
and the plastic. And it's like modeled after a Super Nintendo controller, which is usually the best to like if you're doing emulation and stuff.
yeah.
But this thing's pretty cool. Like it's battery powered. It also has many HDMI, so I could plug it into the TV, and it looks great. It goes through HDMI and stuff, so I could play on the TV if I want. If not, I could play it on the road,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got a battery in it and stuff, headphone jack, and 2 extra USB ports, so you can play multiplayer as well, which is awesome. So it like does everything. It's a portable device. It's an at-home device. Yeah, you could play with friends if you have another USB controller to plug into it and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Is it like AA battery operated, or is it like
No rechargeable battery.
It has a rechargeable internal
Yeah.
battery. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it just goes through USB Mini.
Nice. That's fucking
Yeah.
cool. That's really cool.
It's pretty sweet, and it has it has a little speaker too. So the speaker sucks, but
Yeah,
but it's
whatever.
like
Does it have a headphone jack?
It sure does. Yeah, it's
There
got a
you go.
headphone jack.
Dude, that's awesome.
So that's why I got this one, is because I forget the name of the guy. He's like French or something. It was like a Kickstarter thing. He's making a better model now. Like he's making one that looks a little like a Game Boy, because this is kind of blocky.
I mean, it looks a lot like a DS. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like it
kinda
would
blocky,
be.
and he has that, but the one he's making a new one, which is more like a Game Boy Advance, where it's like more on the sides, I think.
Right.
And then so it's thinner and doesn't have this like
What's the stuff on the back there?
thing.
It looks like there's like.
This is like screen buttons. So it's like off and on. This is like a battery check button, which doesn't work. It's
Okay.
supposed to tell you how much battery life. And then these are like the screen menu. So like you can press it and change brightness, contrast, and stuff like that.
Got it. Okay. How's the screen? Is it like just a LED or LCD?
Yeah. Here, I'll turn it on. If it works,
That's cool, man.
Kind of.
I'm into that.
It's like the end of the Raspberry Pi.
Oh yeah! Look at that.
So it runs emulation station, which is
Mhm.
a lot of. If you see people running emulators off of Raspberry Pi, it's usually emulation station. I've heard there's a better one out there.
Mhm.
I forget what it's called, or a different one that people might use too. I mean, Raspberry Pi, also using the Raspberry Pi, not necessarily the greatest for like emulation, but if you're just playing like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Atari, like everything from that back,
Mhm.
it's pretty good. A Retro Pi, so that's what the but I guess everything is mirrored because I got the mirrored thing. But it's pretty good for that. Like it can't go. It can do like PS1, but that's, I mean, if you want to go out and like get the BIOS, which is like illegal, so you shouldn't do that. Like and stuff for like CD-based games like Sega CD and Dreamcast and stuff. This, I think, can do it.
Mhm.
It does have a major problem with Nintendo 64. That's for some reason has been very complicated to emulate, and you will have to have a more powerful kind of PC to get the N64 emulators to work. But anyway, I don't like I'm good with, because since it's a handheld, it doesn't have joysticks or anything. It's good for like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, and stuff like that.
Yeah, you played the good stuff.
Yeah, well, the old stuff and whatnot. But yeah, you can see here, you got the going through the. I don't know if you can see, like.
Yeah, I can see it a little bit. It looks good.
Like Sega. Sometimes the screen goes out. Oh, there we go. But I'll like.
That's great
something.
for the road, man. That's really good.
Exactly. That's what I got it for. What's kind of cool too is kind of a build it yourself. The guy doesn't make now. He just produces a newer model because he realized people just wanted it built. He's like, oh, you can kind of build it yourself. I'll give you the chips. No, it was no soldering required. It was all like the chips were all like push on and stuff to like connectors and whatnot.
But now he just builds them and ships them out.
Yeah, now he's just building like because that's what people like
Want.
Yeah, that's what people wanted. Yeah, it's like, oh no, I just want a thing that works. I mean, it doesn't come with like the software, the RetroPie emulation station software. You have to like do that, but it's not that hard, you know.
So it just comes like
the hard drive is like a mini. You got to get your own mini SD card. You burn the OS on it, and then you like put it in the thing. But you can see I got Donkey Kong Country going on right now.
Oh, that's badass.
Boop 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 boop. Do anything?
Nothing works. It just doesn't work at all.
Yeah, that totally doesn't work. Dude, it doesn't. There we go.
Whoop, Oh, that's funny.
Here we go. It started. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Whoa, yeah.
I have a similar thing. I don't know who built it. It was some Japanese guy, but it's like a thing that I got it at Target. It's pretty cool. I can play like Mario and Zelda.
Yeah. And ARMS.
Yeah, and like these things come off. I don't know if it's supposed to do that.
Yeah, it might be just janky.
I feel like I kind of got like a weird version.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
yeah.
I'm probably just gonna throw it away.
Yeah, it's kind of garbage. Looks like, I mean, what like one side's blue, one side's red. Like,
yeah, like the guy didn't even match, which is really weird.
Like, you can tell that's just like faulty knockoff.
You can tell it's
bullshit,
just hacked together. Yeah, you can tell it's just hacked together stuff. I'm not into it.
Ironically, you can hack it now. You can hack the
hack the Switch
now. Yeah, someone.
I mean,
it
doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me.
And it's a hardware. I guess it's a hardware issue, so they patch it.
Oh, you hack the hardware?
Yeah, I guess the hack is like in the hardware, or like the gateway was kind of in the hardware, so they won't be able to patch it.
Interesting.
Like, they won't be able to patch it.
Interesting.
So that's I don't think you can do anything with it. Like you could run like a Linux thing or something. So it's very, this is very early, but I'm sure like,
people will figure stuff out. I'm not too
spawn a bunch of stuff,
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I'm not too worried about it.
That's sweet. I'm jealous. I don't have a Switch. I want a Switch.
It's pretty nice. So I've gotten really into the Octopath Traveler game. It's the 8-bit game they're making, like Square Enix is making in the old like JRPG style. Like the old like Final
Trigger and stuff.
Yeah, like the old Chrono Trigger, the old Final Fantasy. It's really good though, because it's the way it looks. It has like a 3D element to it. Like everything looks like 3-dimensional, and like it's brilliant the way it's designed. It has a really cool feel to it, but it just has that classic JRPG style of like turn-based fighting, which I really like. I've been trying to play the newest Final Fantasy, and it's
15. Yeah, I heard you and Jay talking some shit on it.
I mean, it's good. It's not a terrible game. It's just hard for me because I want that turn-based thing. I want the turn-based fighting.
Yeah, I'm opposite. I hate turn-based fighting. The only turn-based game I played all the way through was like Pokémon.
Yeah.
Back in the
Stick
day,
of Truth.
Pokemon. Oh, you're right. Damn it! But the story's so good. If it was another game, I played it. But like the game is so hilarious, like Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole and stuff like that. Yeah. You're right. I completely forgot it because I don't even think of it that way because that game.
It's so good. Yeah, the storyline's so good.
Gameplay necessarily,
But that's the thing. But that's the thing about JRPGs though, is they're not they're supposed to be
I guess you're
story
right.
driven.
Supposed to be the story, right? So I
Like,
kind
it's
of
supposed to be about the
yeah.
story. The fighting and the game mechanics are supposed to be just kind of like a means to an end and kind of like a passive they're almost supposed to feel like a mini game, in my opinion. Like, it should feel like almost like a mini game, whereas like the main point of the game is exploration, talking to people, finding out the story, like going through that, which is like by far the best parts of the South Park games and most JRPGs, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's funny. You're I kind of like I kind of realized like what I was saying. It's like, you know what? It's not that I don't like turn-based games. I just usually don't care about the story of most of them, I guess.
Right.
I'm never like into it.
Right.
And so since the turn-based thing itself is like, then it's like there's no way for me to get into it, and that's why I've only because I never played Final Fantasy when I was younger, so I don't have that history, so I'm not like. I mean, one time, Jay let me borrow a copy of, I might still have it actually at my parents' house, but a copy of PS1 Final Fantasy 7, because it's like, oh, that's 7 and 8 are like, the best ones or whatever.
6, 7, and 8, yeah.
But I tried to play 7. I didn't get very far because I guess just ultimately I didn't care. I wasn't interested in the story to begin with. Where it's like with Pokemon, it was like. I was watching the show.
Yeah, it was just the time. Everybody was into it. You got to trade with your friends.
Yeah,
Pokemon, when you think about it, I think was the start of the multiplayer kind of revolution with gaming when you really think about it, right? Because the idea of like multiplayer games now is like the thing that like drives people to play, the thing that most multiplayers do to try and keep their audiences engaged is this sense of keeping up, right? And that was the first game where it was like, oh, I have to be playing Pokemon, I have to be catching, because if I want to like fight my friend, I gotta have that stuff to trade. Like, I really want to get, it was like, oh, my friend down the street, Steven has a Magikarp that I really want because I'm going to evolve it. It's like maybe you can't catch a Magikarp, but you really want one, dude, because you have like a thing to evolve it.
I got that Snorlax dog. I found it,
dude. I got Snorlax, bro. Come at
me. Remember when? So what's funny is when like Pokemon was the original Red and Blue Pokemon,
right?
For Game Boy, there was Yellow eventually too, which was the same line of game. But anyway,
it was the same game. You just couldn't choose your starter.
Yeah, your starter was
Pikachu
but
all
you can
the
still
time.
Trade with Red and Blue stuff. It was like it was still
because it was the exact same
anyway,
game. They just literally locked your starter as Pikachu.
Right.
And
but anyway,
and that starter Pikachu couldn't evolve, if I remember correctly.
Oh, it couldn't.
Yeah, you couldn't evolve that.
Evolve into a Raichu or whatever.
You couldn't evolve that one. Because it was essentially supposed to be like modeling Ash's Pikachu, who never evolved into a Raichu.
But anyway, what I was saying is when that whole thing started is actually pretty much when we became friends.
Basically, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It basically is. It was like 7th grade,
and
we weren't like full on friends yet. You were friends with you became friends with our friend Kevin. First,
yeah.
Because he had like. You bonded over Star Trek and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were bonding over like sci-fi and Star Trek and shit.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't into that scene as much. And then we eventually, started becoming friends. I guess by proximity. I don't know, but
Yeah,
but Pokemon.
It was weird. Yeah, because we had interacted first, being on your dad's baseball team together.
Right. He was on my dad's baseball team. He quit after a couple games or something.
I think it was like less than 2. It was like 2 or 3. Yeah, it was terrible because I was like, so I was just coming out of.
You weren't really into it. It was you just kind of signed up to do activities, I assume, right?
So so here's the backstory there. So the reason why part of it was me being frustrated with like not feeling like I fit in, but most of it was because I was
activities. Yeah.
Well, most of it was because I was fucking fat. Like, I was a really fat kid at the time because we had moved out from Texas to the Bay Area, and I'd been living with my grandmother for the past like year and a half before we moved into Pacifica. Before I moved with my mom to Pacifica. And my grandmother, bless her heart, love her to death, but she was very like laxed on like rules with me because I was like the firstborn grandson and shit. So like I was like heir to the throne, like the whole thing. So she spoiled the shit out of me. So I would like routinely stay home from school. Like I would just like pretend to be sick and I would stay home from school. It was actually really funny. I had this like little like science kit, and I would take orange juice, Pepsi, a little bit of salsa, and like mix it, and I would make my own vomit, and I would like dump it in the toilet and be like, Grandma, I threw up, and she'd be like, oh, you can stay home, and then I'd be like, cool, thanks, and then I would like go grab like chips and salsa.
Grandma, Oreos.
Yeah, Grandma, I need more
Pepsi.
I need more pace. Grandma, go to Costco, get some pace. Because I was really into pace salsa.
Pace picante.
Yeah, pace picante salsa. But I would literally sit there and drink Pepsi and eat chips and salsa and watch Nick Jr. all day. And I was like really into like the Busy World of Richard Scarry, like all that was my jam. But basically I spent like a year of my life just like eating and watching TV, and I got really, really fat. Compared to like how I was when I was younger, when I played like sports and shit. So you know, I was pretty athletic as a kid. I mean, I don't think I was like good, but I was at least like in decent shape. And then when I moved out with my mom, she was like, you got to make some friends, you got to like do stuff and like not be a piece of shit. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go like play baseball, because I remember like that's the joy of my, it was like Sandlot, it's like, oh, that's where I remember having friends, was on the field and stuff like that. So I joined the baseball team, and then immediately realized that I was terrible. I was just like really, really bad, because I remember because my original baseball team in Texas, we were undefeated like 5 years in a row. We never lost. Mostly because we had a bunch of like really athletic kids on the team, and the way Pee Wee baseball like worked out there, it was very political, and apparently like you could just like there was no like draft or like rotate, like kids were the kids, like they were just on the team.
It's all political though. I think
so
there's stuff.
So like the dads of like the best players in the area like all were on the same team. Like all the kids,
all
like
such bullshit.
Yeah, they all had like batting cages in the back of their house. All these like we had all these like kids hitting like home runs and fucking like t-ball. It's like what? So we just had this like ridiculous win streak. And so I thought I was good, because I was like, oh man, I'm on this team, we never lose, and I'm good by default, like I'm part of the team. So then I could like come and like play with people who have actually been like working at it and like playing like most of their lives, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually terrible and I'm fat. So then I was just like, fuck it, I don't want to play anymore. And like I'm basically kind of was like I didn't make it up. I told my mom, I was like, oh, none of the kids like me, or none of the kids like will talk to me, which isn't like true, but it's also not true. Like I didn't go out of my way to make friends, but nobody was like super like, hey, what's up, bro?
We didn't approach you like, hey,
I mean, it was just kids. Like you weren't mean to me.
We didn't know you. We already knew each other, but we didn't know you.
Yeah, you weren't mean to me, and you didn't exclude me, but you weren't like, hey, like join in, bro. You're part of the team.
And inviting.
Exactly. It wasn't like you're part of the team, bro. Get in here. Like it was just like, oh, whatever. Like, hey, if you want to hang out, hang out. Like you're our fucking like replacement left fielder. Like we don't give a shit. So I was just like, I don't want to fucking play with those kids, they don't even like me, whatever. And so I quit the team, and then totally forgot about it. And then years later we met again in middle school, and I didn't remember you.
You didn't remember remember me, and I totally remembered you. I was like, that's that kid, like,
that's that piece of that's that fucking piece of shit that
Yeah, because it was such a huge scandal. But
yeah, well, didn't you tell me that you were like mad at me? There
was some sort of scandal. What was it? Like,
it was about
weird.
It was about the team photos. It was about it was all over the team photos. My mom, I don't know if this happened, but I know my mom like claimed that the reason why I was leaving the team was because like your dad didn't invite me to the team photo.
Oh,
And
right.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
I'm
like my
pretty
mom
sure it
made
was.
that up to like get me
I,
off the team
I,
or
I don't know. I don't think so, because like I think my dad would have.
oh,
I think it
knowing your
would
dad,
been
he
made
would
very
100% would
clear,
have.
like, oh, this is like team photo day and stuff. Because
Yeah.
I remember it was like, oh, he didn't show up, and
Yeah.
then I think you quit after that anyway.
Yeah.
But,
No, yeah, knowing your dad, there's
that
no
might
way he wouldn't have.
yeah, that might have been
Yeah.
just something she said to like, which is weird. Like, I don't know why you don't really. I mean, did you really need an excuse? It's like, oh, he doesn't want to play. Like, I mean, I don't know. Just
Yeah,
save
I don't
face.
know.
Like, oh, well, you excluded him, so he's out of here. Or
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning was.
Whatever.
It was like
Maybe just to
bullshit
make
politics. Yeah.
yeah, or maybe your mom was just trying to make it so it's like, oh, it's not him. He's not quitting, or he's not quitting because of this. He's
Yeah,
quitting
it's
'cause
your
you
fault.
Excluded him. It's your fault.
No,
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe
No,
you and her feel better. I don't know.
knowing my mom probably tried to get like a refund on. She's just like, I want my deposit back.
Probably why that's probably the reason. That's probably why she like tried to say that so she could try to get the money back.
Yeah, she was like, well, my deposit back. You didn't even invite my son. It's like most likely.
That's probably the reason.
That's most likely. Knowing my mom and knowing your dad,
Yeah.
that's probably why. Like, because your dad definitely invited me, or definitely like said to
I'm sure, yeah.
But
yeah.
anyway,
that's a huge sidetrack. But anyway, so and I was like, and I think so. Yeah, I was probably indifferent towards you because your mom like blamed my dad, like, oh, he's not playing anymore because you didn't invite him or didn't
yeah,
include
whatever.
him. So it's like, oh, fuck this guy, whatever. So I was weird towards you.
Hey, kid, fuck you, kid.
Yeah, why is Kevin hanging out with this guy?
He's
trash.
He's a traitor. He's a traitor.
Fucking traitor. But no, it was stupid like that. It was really
there's like dividing the crew.
I was always like arm's length, like, oh, don't let this guy get close. He'll just quit on you,
Yeah. It was
Whatever,
so
like,
funny too because like I remember being really like in kid love with you and Kevin. Like Jacob, like whatever. Like Jacob and I didn't get close until later because Jacob comes off as a dick at first. Like
you had more of a grind. You had more of a grind.
There was definitely a grind there, but it's weird because he's become like easily like one of my closest friends of all time.
Of
but
course.
but yeah, at first there was definitely like that thing. But I remember being like, I was super into Kevin because he was really into Star Trek. He was the only other person I knew that was into sci-fi like I was.
Sure,
and then I remember being into his group, like, and you especially because you were really funny. I remember you and Kevin and Jacob, like when you guys got together, is the thing that got me super into the group was you guys were like the funniest fucking people I'd ever like been around, and I was like, you guys just had that like this dynamic because you'd been together since you were in like first grade or whatever. And I just remember being like super into it, but then like you were giving me the culture, but I didn't know why. And it was just like, I guess I just gotta like earn my place. Like I guess.
I know. I wasn't gonna let you in. I don't know. It's weird. It's like I keep reflecting on like past events and like realizing that I was like way more of a dick in certain situations. Even like as recently as like 5 years ago, I was like, God damn, I was a dick.
God damn, I was kind of
like past
dick.
John. God damn it, past John.
But
I don't know. What happened is you were persistent, so you like wore me down.
Yeah, I'm a very persistent person.
You called me on the phone and shit. You're like, hey, what's going on? I was like, I didn't even know who is this?
Well, we had this relationship, and I loved our relationship as a kid because in my mind, like I had this like idea of our relationship in my mind where I was this like I was like the Huckleberry, or I was the Huckleberry Finn to your Tom Sawyer, right?
Tom Sawyer.
So like I was the fucking ragtag fucking like wild like orphan boy, even though I wasn't orphaned, but in my mind, like that, like I was like the kid from like across the tracks or whatever, like the wild kid, and you were like the straight and narrow, like good guy, like, and I was gonna bring you out of your shell and stuff. So I remember because I had like very little restrictions growing up, and I remember one day, like because like I was like allowed out of the house. Not that you weren't allowed out of the house, but I was like
Yeah, but
allowed out of the house.
It was more like you got to get permission and
Yeah.
you know,
Whereas like I
bring-
didn't. Like I literally, I remember one day I just like went to my mom. I was like, all right, I'm going to John's, and I just like left the house and like walked to your house and was like, bro, and I was like, it was like I don't know if it was like. I think we had cell phones by this point, and I remember calling you and be like, "Yo, come outside. We're gonna like let's walk to the let's walk to Lindemar and we'll like get tacos." Yeah. And you were like, "What? Like you're out? You're
Yeah,
outside?
Yeah, I was so unheard of. Yeah,
You're like by yourself?"
How I rolled by yourself. Oh, is your mom picking us up?
I'm like, no, I'm outside. I'm on my scooter. I got my sweet razor. Like, I figured we could go do tricks by the quarry. You know, it's just
At the quarry.
you know, it's just like, cause I was like, there was the other thing is like, I went through a weird phase as a kid where I thought like I realized that after baseball, I never quite hit my stride as an athlete. I always thought, I think it kind of messed with me later in life because I always thought I was more athletic than I was. And so I always tried these different things where it's like, oh no, maybe I'm like not good at baseball, but I'm good at like esports. Maybe I could skateboard. And then like I realized I have terrible balance. I'm like, okay, well I can't do skateboarding because I have terrible balance, but I could do scooter tricks. Like I could be on a scooter. And then like that'd be cool. Yeah, so I like did that. Like it was just like so it was like all these things where I was like all into, and then like I went to like a skate park once on my scooter and like ate shit. Like it was like I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm fucking done. Like that's my other thing is like there's the other thing.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it was like because I have this this daring sense of adventure where I just want to try things and like I want to like succeed and feel like I'm good at something. I want my niche, right? But I'm terrible at most things and I have no problems quitting. Like zero problems quitting. So I like try something once, fail and instantly quit. And it's like that's been like the story of my life.
Though, but at least trying the things once, you know.
That is true. That is true. I've never been afraid to try something at least once, but I've also never been afraid to immediately quit it. Like right after.
Immediately.
Like literally like the moment I failed. It's like there was
like,
no.
Can we get a time machine and take back that the whole event ever happened?
Yeah, like I like well it's like it was like wrestling, right? Like I joined wrestling for a year. Well, it was literally like I didn't even do a match. I didn't even do one match because I went to practice and it was the first day you just kind of like whatever, it's orientation, and then the second day they're like, all right, you're gonna wrestle. And I remember I can't remember the kid's name, but he was like much bigger because they don't have weight classes like when you're that young because it was like pre-high school. Yeah, so they paired me up with this like the fat kid in class, which I guess like I was fat too, but he was like really fat. He was like really
tall,
like and there's nothing wrong with being fat. Like everybody's beautiful on the inside, but this kid was fucking fat, okay? And so like they paired me up with him. And he just sat on me, and I got like so mad. I got like red in the face, mad because I was like, I can't even do anything. I've been practicing all week. I've been practicing my fucking moves. I have all these sweet moves, and I couldn't do it. And so I just immediately quit and was like, I'm not fucking doing it anymore. I don't care. And it must have pissed my mom off because she would buy me like equipment and stuff. She would buy me all the gear, and then I would just immediately quit. And then they would like 8 different things.
I wonder if there's like boxes somewhere like
I still have
like all that gear.
I still have
gear from the different
I have
things.
like saved I have saved little mementos from each thing, like little trophies from me quitting things.
Yeah.
Like I still have the knee pad.
Your participation trophy.
I still had the knee pad. No, not even like trophies. I'm talking about like trophies.
No,
like
I know, but they're your
participation trophies. Basically, yeah. They're like my mementos, you know. And like I have like the knee pad from when I wrestled. I still have my baseball glove. I think I still have like a helmet from when I used to scooter. Like a bunch of like random things that like just don't like. There's no reason for me to have them. Like I'm never gonna throw on the old gear and give it another go. Like it's like I'm done. But yeah. But it always makes me think like, what if I was one of the best and I just never. That's the problem with quitting after trying it only once is later on you start realizing, well, maybe if I had given it a shot. So now I'm living that dream where it's like, oh, I was probably pretty good. I just never really gave it a shot,
It's got stuff to do, It's
I mean, like, it just wasn't for, I blame my parents, I blame society, I think if I had been nurtured more, it would have I could have been one of the greats, I could have been at the Olympics. You don't know.
Could have been at the Olympics. Yeah. You could have been in
2018.
Yeah.
I don't know any Olympic wrestlers.
I don't know anything about like real wrestling. Oh my, the closest I've gotten was when when like we have the one match a year like, on TV. Like,
yeah.
And I have to like
go USA,
what?
USA, USA. You get all into it.
I mean,
more into curling personally.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like curling. It's like Olympic. Every 4 years, I'm way into curling, and Abigail and I talk about how we're totally gonna do curling.
I love how curling has become the like low key like artisan Olympic sport that everyone's into. Like everyone's all into curling.
It is interesting. Well, it's interesting because you feel like you can do it. Like I can do.
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
I can't do skiing. I can't do like Olympic skiing and do
no,
all the
exactly,
Shaun White shit.
exactly.
But like but with curling, it's like I can do that. I'm just gonna.
I think if I worked at it, I can do. Yeah, I think that's the appeal for a lot of.
Like I got to a point. I did look at like for a Bay Area curling club. Like I looked for one, and like Abigail looked like, oh, it looks
look,
like
we're gonna sign up. We're gonna sign up.
Like they do beginning classes and stuff.
We're gonna sign up.
We should give this a try. Like,
why can't we sign up? Why can't we? I'll throw the thing, and you do the scrubbing, and we'll trade off.
Sweeping, and we'll trade off, and
we'll trade it because quality. Quality.
Yeah.
We could be a husband-wife team, and
exactly. It's going to improve our relationship because we're doing activities, and it gets us talking to each other.
Yeah, and then eventually get the kids into it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's a lot of things. There's a thing to be said about like professional sports that are also played by like average people, like bowling. That's another thing where like people are like, I could probably golf.
Exactly.
You're like, I could probably be a pro golfer if I really wanted to. There's a lot of those.
Golf. There's still like a distance there. Like I can't do that.
I think people
bowling and curling. It's like I could do that if I could. If I gave it like a good 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months of practice. If I gave it a good 6 months of practice, I would be there. Mm-hmm. I could be one of the best. I could be one of the best. Yeah, I mean, I play lawn bowling all the time, and I nail it. Like, nail it.
Next Matt Hamilton.
I could be the next.
That's a real person, Olympic curling USA.
I was gonna just make up a name. Like, I could be the next.
I was gonna make up a name too, but then I remembered the last minute the one guy name I remember because I watched a bunch of doubles matches with him and his sister, and then I
could
watched,
be a professional bowler like Chad Hestwick.
Yeah.
Like Chad
Hestwick.
Chad Hestwick sounds like a bowler.
Chad Hestwick.
It sounds like a bowler.
Type of bowler names though. I don't know what bowler names are though.
I feel like they have like very normal names. It's like Matt. It's like they have like Matt and Chad and like
Buck Walters or something.
Buck.
Does that sound like a good bowler name?
Yeah, Buck Walters. Oh my God, Buck Walters. He's
got the devil split right now.
Buck Walters has just not been nailing those strikes today. He's been picking up spares, but he just hasn't been able to take it all the way. It's gonna be tough.
I don't know if that's how the commentating is. Is it like golf? I've never watched like a bowl because I know there is bowling on like ESPN.
I don't think they get loud. Which is weird because I don't think they're like in the room. I don't think they get that. I don't think they get necessarily that soft. But
there's the curve, and he nails it.
I kind of hope they're that soft. I gotta watch more. I gotta watch
that.
That'd be really funny if they were like, all right. Well, because people are quiet when people bowl. Like you can't. It's like golf in that sense where nobody's like cheering while the person's bowling.
You have to
it's a simmer down situation.
Yeah.
Which is just really really funny. Anytime there's a sport where it's like everybody be quiet, he has to have complete concentration while he does this thing. This is a weird episode. This is what happens.
I know. You know what happened is to recap, like we talked about things we're into. Then I tried to pivot to video games a little bit, and we did. But then we just ended up talking about the history of our friendship.
I liked it though. I liked it,
but it might be the most boring thing in the world to everybody else.
No, because it's actually I think it's a good episode to come in strong on for 2. Yeah, exactly. Because now people can appreciate the
they have the history.
Now they have the history, and they can appreciate the friendship moving forward.
Exactly. And I really thought that Jacob would pop in halfway
I
through this,
really
but
thought he would pop in. He
has
hasn't even
not. Like,
said anything.
I'm actually kind of worried about him now because he hasn't responded on chat or anything.
At all.
So it's like, I hope he's okay. Jacob,
Yeah.
I hope you're okay. I hope your family's okay. Like, hopefully you're just sleeping and you forgot. I don't know.
Yeah, I really hope he just like fell asleep, and he's gonna be like, "Did I miss it?" He'll like text us like, "Did I miss it?"
Yeah.
But
yeah. Anyway, I guess
ultimately though, we did it. We made it through episode 2.
We grinded through this second episode, where it's already like a special episode.
Yeah, but it was fun. I had a great time.
So did I.
It felt good. It felt good to go through. Felt smooth despite not having a third person.
Yeah.
And not having at all any sort of anchoring theme that we were planning to do, because we kind of like made up all this shit on the spot. But yeah, it was good. I feel good. I'm excited about the next episode. Seriously, hopefully we can get him in for the next episode. And if we do, we're going to be talking Disney games. So the mostly things from 1990 through 1999,
8-bit, 16-bit era for sure.
Yeah, but I have a lot of things to say there, because I went back through the old archive, and
I had some stories prepared too.
Yeah,
but
it's gonna be.
We will
gonna
save
be good
them
times.
for next time.
But yeah. For now, we're going to call it there. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast, whether it be on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play Store, or our website, 8bitcomedyhour.com, which is now live. Very excited about Liberty Live.
Subscribe and rate.
Yeah, subscribe and rate. Buy our merch. It doesn't exist. There's no merch.
We don't have merch.
Please don't. Please don't. But no, seriously, thanks for listening if you have, and hopefully we'll have a full stacked crew next week. If not, we'll be back talking some shit, and we're just gonna have to it'll be a 2-person podcast.
We'll just do our like the history of our friendship from
part 2,
high school on or something.
I feel like it gets
like dive into our like relationships and stuff.
Let's get real deep. The first time I fell in love. I was 16. And we'll talk about that next week.
With the same person.
What? No.
Huh?
No,
I'm making stuff up.
Okay, I was like, we did not fall in love with the same person.
No, I was making stuff up.
Okay.
Juicy.
Okay, because I got intrigued for a second. I was like, did we? What?
Oh,
what?
No.
This is new.
No. I don't want to talk about that crap anyway. This is.
Oh, thank God. All right, thank God.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna call it there. Again, thanks for watching. Appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time.